We will call to order the March City of Columbia Planning Commission meeting. Welcome to Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. I would ask that everybody turn their cell phones and PDAs to the silent or vibrate position. The administrator will proceed with the roll call.
Mr. Tupper? Here. Ms. Hartz? Here. Ms. Mandel?
Here.
Mr. Stigemeyer?
Here.
Mr. Waits?
Here.
Ms. James?
Here.
And Mr. Dolphin?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. I will briefly review the meeting format. Applicants with requests before Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time shall include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include questions asked by Planning Commission or staff regarding their concerns. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address concerns in the intervals of 2 minutes. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. Consent agenda. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Example of these items shall include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public would like to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed from the consent agenda and is considered during the meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items. The administrator will call the consent agenda.
Your consent agenda this evening consists of the April 3rd, 2019, I guess it would be, sorry, it should be February 3rd, 2020 minutes. A comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment for pending annexations, which is item number 2, for 6728 Weingard Street. Item number 3, which is a map amendment to a PUD, which is 206 Lace Cap Road. And I just want to note that on the agenda, there's a typo in the TMS number. However, it was correct in the legal ad. There's a zoning map amendment for item number 4, 2201 Wayne Street. And then we move on to our site plans. The item number 5 was deferred as the applicant is still producing some more information. Item number 6, 165 Columbiana Drive for a site plan review. And then 2 more site plan reviews, which consist of those on Riding Grove Road, and item number 8, 8 acres on the south side of Dolphin Road.
Great. Do any commission members or guests today wish to have items removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda?
Mr. Chair, for item number 6, I'll need to recuse myself from that vote.
Okay. So with that, could we get a motion for items 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8, along with the corrected approval for the minutes, February 3rd, 2020.
7 and 8.
Oh, 7 and 8, excuse me.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by no. Motion passes. Can I get a motion for item number 6?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item number 6 on the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by no. Motion passes. We will now proceed to the regular agenda. I would like to make 2 housekeeping mentions. One, if you need to leave the floor to use the restroom or to exit the building, please use the elevator. And secondly, make sure you state your name when you come to the podium.
Your regular agenda, the first item on your regular agenda today is 4427 Blossom Street. This is a request to rezone the the parcel from general residential RG2 with a portion within the floodplain area FP to a neighborhood mixed-use district MX1 with a portion in the floodplain area FP. And the applicant is here if you have any questions. And we could go into it more detail, either Rachel or myself, if you have questions.
Would the applicant like to speak for Planning Commission?
Well, with that, I'll explain the process, or would you like to, Rachel, the request? Essentially, the property was existing apartments under the RG2 zoning district. They actually had more units than the district allowed, so they were grandfathered. In 2015, 4 of the buildings had damage to them. Since that time, that grandfathering has been lost. They'd like to rebuild the buildings. The floodplain manager, as well as building inspections, has indicated those could be rebuilt. So they could potentially rebuild all of the units that were originally there, or they could take those 4 buildings and just build bigger units potentially in those locations. But rezoning to the MX1 allows them to rebuild to the original number of units when the development was built.
And just to clarify, the buildings are still standing. They've just been pretty much down to their studs. They just need to be redone, but they weren't completely demolished.
And they can't do that under the existing zoning.
They can, just not at the density that it was prior.
So essentially, they could have the same number of buildings, but less units.
Okay, so to clarify, there are currently 4 buildings that are unoccupied and have been since 2015.
Correct.
And they are no longer zoned for the same number of units that were in those buildings because they've lost their grandfathering, correct?
Correct. It's been non-conforming.
Right, but they can't,
They outright, based on the square footage of the parcel, can have around 101 units outright. They're trying to bring, I believe, around 112 back, which is still less than what was there before. 6 buildings were actually damaged in the flood. They demoed 2 and are hoping to repurpose 4.
okay, so again, so there were 101 units that were active prior to the flood in 2015.
There were 128, I believe. prior.
Okay, there were 128, and they're asking to bring back 112. Or,
Correct. So because they lost 2 buildings, there's 8 units in each building, so it'll be 16 units less.
okay, so even with the zoning change, this is what they would be able to have, correct? Is less units than they originally did?
If the zoning change went through, and again, the zoning change is not project specific, but just as an example, the MX1 does not have a density requirement, so they would not be bound by that. The RG2 that it is currently does have the density requirement, and they would not be able to bring back the same density that they had or what they're hoping to have.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, I'm still trying to
I
clarify.
was just
So if there's no change in zoning, they had 128 units, and there's no change in zoning, and if they rebuild those buildings, then they come back with 112. Is that correct? Under the current
101,
101. Okay.
yes.
All right.
And they're hoping for 112 is what they had submitted for, and that's how the discussions began.
Okay. They wanted 112, but they can't get it under the current zoning.
Not under the RD2.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
I had a question on one of the maps. It had the flood hazard area or flood zone area. How does that play? It looks like the apartments that are in question, I'm assuming it's the ones closest to the creek there. But how does that flood hazard area I guess correspond with the zoning and the land use if it's already out of, you know, if it lost its grandfather designation?
The floodplain overlay remains on the parcel regardless. That just more on the zoning map is a trigger that it could be within the floodway, needs extra examination. The floodplain advisor for the city looks at it at that point for the actual.
It doesn't restrict any, it's not going to restrict any.
Not from a zoning perspective, so it just triggers that further review.
Okay, I have another question. So if the zoning changed, and I understand that is independent of the owner, and given that it is in a floodplain, you said it triggers a further level of review. So if the zoning changes, do they then have to get approval for anything that they do to change things as kind of a separate
The
review
requirements would be the
process?
same. It comes through the permitting. So the floodplain, they look at it when it's going through permitting, and they've reviewed it as well as the building department has reviewed it. So, I mean, it is just an extra step. They look to see what can be built in that floodplain. So, and they make the final call on that in the engineering.
I believe the requirement is the finished floor elevation for each building has to be 1 foot above the floodplain elevation. So the parking could be up on, it could be with less than a foot, but the finished floor elevation of the building itself has to be 1 foot above.
1 foot, you said?
I think so.
And I don't know if the buildings were demoed and had to be rebuilt, if it would be different, or if the requirement's different just because they're already existing and they can be redone. I'm not sure from the engineering perspective how they review that.
And then I'll also add that when Rachel and I sat down with the applicant and looked at choices within the existing zoning, the MX1 was the best choice. Back in 2013, there was a comprehensive node plan done for this particular area that envisioned multifamily in this particular area as it was, but the MX1 is the closest ordinance, zoning ordinance that we have in terms of implementing that particular land use plan. So that's why that was recommended.
But there's no restriction on density, correct?
Would the MX1 allow for them to build additional buildings or units within?
Well, as you can see on the aerial, the buildings are fairly. Redevelop and go higher.
Potentially, but they would still have to be able to have the parking and everything like that on the parcel too. So there's no parking reduction or anything like that with it. So it would still, they wouldn't have a lot of land to work with for that.
Are there any other questions for staff? Would any members of the...
My mic was off. You do have a letter in front of you from the Gills Creek Watershed Association that we received this morning. So.
Any members of the public like to speak?
Thank you. My name is Tricia Sherman, and I'm sitting way over there, and there's an echo, so you may have addressed things that I'm going to say, so I apologize. I'm president of the Gills Creek Watershed Association. Gills Creek is one of the most impaired water bodies one of the most impaired urban water bodies in the state. It has not yet recovered from the floods, and so we pay particular attention to redevelopment requests. As you know from our prior involvement with redevelopment requests in the Croson Road area, we think that areas that have been significantly damaged by the floods should not be rebuilt. And when you have a request to rebuild such as this, it's a perfect opportunity to step back from that development. We think allowing these properties to remain as green space is the ideal solution. Local governments around the country are beginning to look at flooding because they're expecting increased flooding as a result of changes in climate. And we think Columbia probably should be doing this same sort of forward planning. We'd welcome the opportunity to participate in that effort, perhaps in conjunction with the governor's flood commission work. But we recognize that in the absence of that kind of planning, in the absence of a pot of money to buy people out, you're not going to be able to back away as readily as some other cities might be able to. So we think a reasonable compromise is to stick with the existing zoning on this property, which allows 2 of the buildings to be rehabilitated, but allows 2 other buildings to be removed and to create some green space. We are very concerned about that portion of the construction that may take place in the flood zone, and I realize it's not your purview, but we certainly hope the permitting efforts will particularly pay attention to what could be done to alleviate flooding there. We'd also like to request that particular attention be given to both sediment control and stormwater control in the long-term operation of that site, as well as in the construction. Because of its proximity, is that my time up?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay. Because
It's a warning.
Sounds like it's going to explode. Because of the proximity to Gills Creek, and also because there are 2 feeder streams that come down on either side of that property, so there's a lot of water there when we get a lot of rain.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your consideration. We appreciate the work that you guys do, and we appreciate staff who have been very helpful in answering our questions.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak?
And I do just want to note for the record that if the rezoning does not pass, that does not automatically mean that those 2 buildings would have to be demolished. They have a certain unit count that they can rebuild. They could resituate the unit.
Hi, I'm John Sullivan. I'm representing the owner. Sorry I did not speak earlier, but they had a different agenda item up on the board, so I wasn't sure this was the one. But just to go over a couple things the staff said, is the future land use calls for the multi-use type zoning that is there. So does the node study. So we're really trying to zone it into something that is planned for this area, and it's already being used by that. The whole area is multifamily, high-density housing in the residential zoning. There were 6 buildings that were damaged by the flood. The owner, which is not the same owner that had the property back then, they bought the complex last year. They took down the 2 that were closest to the water and severely damaged. The other 4 have been there or are still there. The shell's still there. So it's really just coming in with new plumbing, sheetrock, taking them up to new code. So that it's not green space now. The owner probably not going to convert it to green space. You know, it is what it is. But what they would like to do is take those 4 buildings back. I know this is not project specific, but they've been sitting there for 5 years in bad condition. People have been living there, drugs, crime, and everything else. So it's going to clean up that area that's been sitting that way.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Are there any further questions for staff?
I mean, just to reiterate, there is no limit on the density if they do get this zoning change.
Correct. So there's no set density in the MX1.
And it's zoned multifamily now. I mean, correct?
It's general residential now, yes, so which does allow the multifamily at a roughly 16.4 units per acre density.
Are there any other questions for staff? Seeing there are none, can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny the applicant's request for rezoning of this property.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. No. We're going to do this by hand vote.
I'll just call out everybody. It might be easiest. Mr. Tupper?
Aye.
Ms. Hartz? Ms. Mendel?
Aye.
Mr. Steigermeyer?
No.
Mr. Waits?
No.
Ms. James?
No.
And Mr. Dolphin?
Aye.
Four ayes and three noes.
Motion is denied.
Motion carries.
Well, no. Her motion was denied.
1, 2, 3, 4 ayes, but it was a motion to deny, so the motion passes as a denial. Tupper, Mandel. Ms. Hartz, what was your?
No.
You said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Approve the zoning change.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 noes and 3 yeses, so the motion fails.
So now is there another motion that gets made since the motion
You
failed?
could make another motion. It could be completely different. You
Yeah.
could, Ms. Mandel could rephrase hers in a different way that,
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve 4427 Blossom Street's zoning map amendment from RG2 and with a portion in the floodplain to MX1 with a portion in the floodplain area.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
so just to confirm, the noes were Tupper, Ms. Mandel, and Mr. Dolphin. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Motion passes.
Motion passes. We move to the next item.
Just want to take a moment on these next items, just to let the public as well as all of you understand. So items 10, 11, and 12 on your agenda are all related to one another. The piece of property is actually partially in the city of Columbia and partially in Richland County. So they're requesting an annexation, and there's also a rezoning request of the property that's within the city, and then we have a land use amendment for both the portions inside the city and outside. So the first item on your agenda this evening is item number 10 for 2.57 acres on the southwest Rugby Road and 4802 Brickyard Road. It is a request to rezone a portion of the parcel from single-family residential to general residential district RG1. And we have them all separated, so we do need separate motions, but if you want me to go through, present any of these a little bit more in depth, if that would be helpful, let me know.
Yeah, I think doing them together makes sense with separate motions for the actual individual votes, just because they're all the same topic.
So I'm going to flip through the slides really quick just as a review of all of these items. So this is item number 10. This is the parcel within the city that's being requested to be rezoned from RS2 to RG1. And then item number 11 is 2.57 acres southwest Rugby Road and 4802 Brickyard Road. This is to amend the comprehensive plan and a land use amendment to go from UCR1, which is a urban core residential small lot, to urban edge residential large lot. It's the same parcel. So that first item was zoning. This one's land use. And then your third item for this particular project, or this particular item, is a comprehensive plan, future land use amendment, and zoning map amendment for an annexation of 0.3. It's a number of acres, but it's basically what you see on the screen, but it's Rugby Road, Brickyard Road, Club Road, and a number of tax maps. And it's to request the land to be annexed into the city, to have it assigned urban edge residential lot, large lot UER2 for the land use, and a zoning classification of RG1, which is general residential here in Columbia. Currently, The property is currently classified as MX Residential High Density and zoned RS HD in Richland County. And that would be those parcels that you see on the screen here. So, I think this will work. You all can't see what I'm pointing at on your screens, but I'll point on the screen. The first two items are this parcel down here in yellow. The area on the map that's color, this is the city of Columbia, that's Richland County, and that's where was the first two items I read, and then the third item is everything shaded in blue. And then this is just a rezoning. You'll notice that it is for a residential district that could have homes or apartments or something built on the area. That would have, if the property is annexed into the city of Columbia and zoned appropriate, they would be coming back for a site plan review before Planning Commission if it's more than 5 residential units. So that would be something that would be forthcoming to you in the future.
I've noticed all three of the applicants are different. Is it safe to assume it's all related, obviously, as one large project, or is there other people involved other than one single applicant?
I couldn't.
I believe there are different entities, but they're all.
It's a cohesive request.
Yes.
Understood.
So I'm going to flip back to the first item. There we go. And I believe the applicant's here, right? The applicant's here.
Before the applicant speaks, are there any questions for staff?
Our computers aren't working down here. Just FYI.
What was that question?
I know.
Oh. We'll take a short break so that you all can be able to see your iPads.
I think we've got somebody coming.
I'm going to guess I clicked through the slides too quickly and they couldn't keep up.
It's usually how it goes, John.
Thank you.
User error, not the actual technology, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. With that being said, would the applicant like to speak? Would the applicant like to speak? Would any members of the general public like to speak? Good evening.
Evening.
Please state your name.
Benny Sumter. I've been a resident of the area that you all are discussing now for 50 years. And if I could get all the residents that oppose, that live in the Barony Club Road area to stand for me at this time. Thank you. The area that they're speaking of used to be a country club at one point. And it was designed, that whole entire neighborhood was designed for a golf course. There's single-family homes in this area, and everyone that's been in this room that I just spoke about earlier, has been living in the area for well over, if you put all the number together, well over 200-something more years, if you put all of that number together. I give you an example. Mr. Rogers, that's in this neighborhood, and Mr. Etheridge, they were little boys at one time, walking that same country club, caddying for individuals that were part of that country club. And their dream one day is to own a home in that area. And they got their dream. Not for that dream to be squandered by someone trying to place apartment complexes in the middle of a neighborhood, trying to put 500 individuals in the middle of a neighborhood that's not designed for that. Also, we've been made aware that a recent environmental study was done. That area that you're trying to discuss today is contaminated. And I would ask that you would ask the applicant, what are they planning on doing about that? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anthony Kelly, and I live on Brickyard Road. For 50, I guess I was 10 years old, now I'll be 60 next month. I played in that same area they talking about. The old Columbia Country Club, swimming pool, all that stuff is buried down underneath the ground. And the way we had trouble, theft, all that in our neighborhood, and a lot of them old, well, I hate to call y'all old, but they've been there so long, and to have them to come into our neighborhood and just say, oh, we're just gonna build these up. Contaminated grounds, I don't think the church researched it enough. I think they just wanted to put partners there for money. Brickyard Road, coming around Brickyard Road, they already have some along there. It's just ridiculous. And I don't think that the church should put that building 80 or 100, how many they said, because a lot of us been there so long, and just to bring in them and congested us just like that, you know. We already having trouble with 29203 area. We don't need no more stuff over in that area. Thank y'all.
Are there any others that would like to speak?
My name is Jada Harris, and I live in the community, and I'm in opposition to the apartments. Beyond housing provisions, I have concerns about the education for the children that would live in these townhome apartments, along with the children that are currently in the community. The schools that the children are zoned for are underperforming, and parents are taking a hard look at the school performance before they make decisions about where to live. Often people want something that's not only affordable, but also where their children can go to higher performing, award-winning schools. And we want our schools to not only be welcoming to everyone, but parents want schools to produce high test scores and provide advances in STEM and STEAM program opportunities. We already have a sizable number of homes for rent in the community, and we don't want to add to and oversaturate the area with rentals. We want to encourage home ownership and strengthen the neighborhood permanently and not in a superficial way. So if I, a current resident, have concerns about the schools, I can imagine that others who would consider living there would also have the same thoughts. Here are some of the things that we are doing to stay in the neighborhood because we love it, but because we have problems with the zone schools, we are paying for private school. We are patching up missed critical subject areas by paying for Sylvan and supplemental tutorial help. We're sending our children to charter schools, and we're hoping for acceptance to specialized magnet, Montessori, and foreign language immersion programs in the district. So before decisions are made regarding affordable housing, it is also necessary to look at our schools and fix those needs for all of the people that are there.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Lewis. I represent the development team working with the project. A couple of items of just communication-wise. Currently, there's 43% renters in the community. There's 43% ownership, and another 15% of vacant housing currently. As we've expressed in our community meetings, what we see as a major distinction with our development is that we're going to have professionally managed management company to manage the complex. The majority of the challenges in the neighborhood are due to absentee landlords in terms of some of the challenges that you heard some of the folks speak to. We have completed our phase 1 engineering. We're in the process of doing a phase 2 currently. The site prior to our engagement had some illegal dumping on. Again, that's not any new information, but we have plans to have that mitigated, whatever those are. But the phase 2 is underway as we speak. We see that the additional 84 units to the community would be a definite benefit to the community at large.
Sarisa Parker. I grew up in this neighborhood. I just want to point out a few things. The gentleman mentioned about the dumping ground. A little background on that. The property was gifted to Grace Ministries in '91. Since then, this so-called illegal dumping ground that they have known about has basically been done to fill this property. I myself was there when EDP did the survey the other day, and they basically drove 40 feet down and admitted that this is just a dumping ground. Why don't they put a park here? There's so much just dumping there. Also, they are aware of that all this time. They did nothing to correct this issue. They have not put a fence. They don't come out there. It has been basically 7 lots of how much property that they neglected. They do not care about our neighborhood. They're just about making money. My father, my parents, they'll be 80 years old. It's a retirement community. It's a quiet community. Also, the census information that they're reporting is inaccurate. They're reporting census for the entire Eau Claire community. There are about 100 homes, 100 plus homes in the Baronywood community. And the homeowners are still there. The children are still there. The homes are being left to us. So the information they gave is inaccurate. It's not 400 homes. I don't know if they gave you the information, but basically falsified. They did the entire Eau Claire community that is not mostly rental property, is homeowners there. And we would like to keep it that way. A couple of years, 20 years ago, maybe they tried to put a church. We have asked them to keep it as a residential property, and please, we asked them to put homes there. They're not concerned about bettering our neighborhood. They're concerned about how they can make money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I said I wasn't going to say anything because we started.
You're going to restart. Can you please state your name?
Aaron Bishop. I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I think we need to talk about an objective conversation. Some of the subjective comment that has been given has nothing to do particularly with what we're trying to do. And some of the rear view conversation has nothing to do with a windshield opportunity. When I think of objective conversation, we know that this city and this nation has a growing affordable housing crisis. The establishment that we're speaking of has always tried to leverage the resources we have to give resources to a community that needed resources. Either that could have been an expungement workshop, back-to-school rallies, making sure that people had a chance to eat. This is an opportunity for us to make sure people have a place to stay. I'm trying to be in alignment with the city plan and what you all have had as a challenge to bring something forth as an opportunity to serve. If it's about money, we wouldn't be doing it. It's not about money. Of course, everything will bring a profit. That's not the conversation. The profit of the conversation is the people who are in need. As a school board elected official, I know what I heard as a need for students, but that's not your conversation. That's a Richland One conversation. It's not Grace Christian Church conversation. That's a Richland One conversation. We talk about some of the issues that are dealing with the land. How are we supposed to improve it if not given opportunity to improve it? We've done everything from using our own money to try to clean up drug-infested operations, dumping of tires, We did everything we could do to answer the call of a need. This is an answer to a call of a need. It's not about who is standing here speaking. It's about the people who don't have a voice. See, it's not just about the residents that are currently there. It's about the future residents, the unborn children, the children who need a place to stay. This is a conversation about looking forward. I'm concerned as we have been there for 37 years. Where is our community equity? We have invested so much in this community that we want to do something to continue to be a part of this community. We're not an organization that just showed up. We've been there. There was a blighted grocery store that no one wanted to purchase. We fought to put something operationally there. And there were homes that did not have a resident, and it was only people who were temporary residents who came to put drugs inside that. We bought that and made a Wisdom Resource Center, resource mobilization. What I'm concerned about is that we have people who don't live there anymore trying to come and speak. I'm bothered by that because I have rights too. As an established member of that community for 37 years, I believe I have something I need to say. And what I'm saying today is think objectively. Subjective conversation, it doesn't go in the boardroom. I'm asking you to look at it objectively. It's an objective to address a need of a housing crisis that's not only on the national stage, it's also on the local stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Scott. My address is 4819 Hammer Street and Club Road. I'm opposed to any kind of building because there have been several accidents in that neighborhood coming around the curb. And from my understanding, they did last week, they did some ground testing and it was contaminated. And they have to remove a substantial amount of dirt and they'd have to refill it and have to sit for a number of years before it can be approved. And I would like for you to look into that. And it's a very close community, and you can't hardly get in there if you put more housing developments in there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Kathy Johnson, and I am a resident of the Barony Wood community. November 11th, 1969, to be exact, my parents purchased a home on Barony Drive. That home is still there. My siblings and I are now the owners because our parents are gone on. On our street, Barony Drive, all of our neighbors are mostly elderly people. Most of the homes there, I think out of like 20-something homes on our street, only like 3 of them are renters. I have kind of 2 things I want to say. To Grace Church, that's your property. You can do whatever you want to do on your property. But my concern is when you're saying you want to redevelop the property for the betterment of the community, instead of, because I was thinking there were like townhomes that people could purchase, this, that, and the other. This is what I was thinking, but for like renting and, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna say it, Section 8 apartments, this, that, and the other, I have to stand with my neighbors and be opposed to that because on my street, on our street, it's fairly quiet. We don't have any problems. If you want to redevelop that neighborhood, there are children in our neighborhood that need places to play. They use basketball goals, this, that, and the other. This might be beeping because my time is up, but I gotta say what I gotta say. Basketball goals that don't have rims, they make their own rims and stuff like that. How about a little community center or something back there for our children? You know, a library. You know, there are plenty of things that you can put back there to redevelop our community if that's what you want to do. And another concern is, and I'll sit down, the land being contaminated. Come on. My parents' home, the street where my grandchildren play, is right there in that neighborhood. I can throw a rock from our house to that property, and the land is contaminated. I ask Grace Church, the developers, or whoever to get that straightened out. And I promise you that I won't stop until that part of it is fixed, because we want to live on our street. Contamination, we can't have that. So if you want to do something to redevelop the property or whatnot, like I said, it's yours, you can do what you want to. Do something that's for the betterment of our community.
Thank you.
My name is Carl Rogers. I've been living in that neighborhood over 50 years. I raised 6 children there. And the people that want this development, they don't even live in the neighborhood. They want to put other people in there. We're having problems right down in this neighborhood. Right there where my son lived, he had people last night shooting 6 times. We don't want no more of that out there. We want people to invest in something that's worthwhile for our kids. Don't make it no worse than what it is. If they were living in the neighborhood, I can understand it. But they don't live there. He said, "What about money?" It's all about money. That's all it's about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Vonda Douglas Wright, and I live on Rugby Road. I have lived there on and off over the years since I was a child. I live in the home that was heired to me from my aunt. And when Mr. Bishop and his development team speak of affordable housing, we all think of ghetto or housing project. And a housing project or a ghetto is a slum, especially occupied by low-income residents within a city. And we don't want our neighborhood to become a slum. All of the schools in that school zone have a score of a 1, which is underperforming. With 84 units at 500 plus people moving in, I don't understand how our schools can become performing schools in a positive way. They were talking about performing resume writing opportunities for residents moving in, job fairs, but not one parenting class was mentioned for these children that will be moving into our society, our residential homes. In addition, when the gentleman in the orange shirt came up here, he said that they're on phase 2 of engineering, the phase 2 of engineering. We don't know about phase 1. We have not been informed. We do not want this type of, situation in our neighborhood, people that we don't know. We're retirees. We have lived there for generations. And since I was a child, that land has been cleaned off and cared for. Over the past 10 years, it has not. It has become a dumping ground for mattresses and tires and all kind of other things that the people that own the land do not care for. In addition, they don't live in their community. The community that he's saying is his for 37 years, he does not reside in. We reside there, and we will be the subject of whoever comes into our community to tear it down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Angela Bishop Hammonds. I am the Director of Operations with the Grace Christian Ministries. Just want to state that, as we stated earlier, there is a housing crisis in the country, in the city of Columbia. And when we received this land, it was gifted to us years ago. Our attempt was to have a church there. However, we moved to the blighted area of 5010 Monticello Road, and we've become an icon in the community providing services. I just think that I am for this. Sometimes change is difficult, but we have to make a strong step forward in taking care of people. The management team, who's we have interviewed, and we're interested in hiring Superior Management. She's very well informed and equipped to handle the management of the property, because that's something that we want to make sure that is done right. Another issue about people coming in that be ghetto. I'm one of those ghettos people. I was on Section 8 at one time with 3 kids. I was a parent by choice. I lived in Section 8. I got my degree, and I retired from the University of South Carolina. So I'm one of those ghetto people. So we can't stereotype people. I was also on the board of Benedict Allen Community Development Corp., because I was the past president of the Ridgewood Barony Association. Not many people attended. So they were misinformed. So that's another issue. I won't go there. I got 15 seconds. I want to state this, that they attempted to bring homes in that area. It was very unsuccessful because people are moving in the Northeast area. So we want to provide a quality housing under good management for our people so that they will have housing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Gail Baker. I live in the community. I've raised 2 kids in that community. I've lived there for over 40 years, almost 50 years. My 2 kids went to those underperforming schools. One is an architect in Atlanta. One is a chemist for Starbucks. I hate when we stereotype people. And I see Grace Church as an opportunity for us as a neighborhood to be directly involved with somebody who is building that we can reach out to. For as long as I've been there, I've never had that opportunity before. I've been neighborhood president, I've been on numerous boards and all kind of committees in the neighborhood. But to have somebody who is going to build affordable houses in that neighborhood where we can actually get to see what they do, how they do it, have hands-on about how they manage it, and have somebody that we can actually communicate with about the management of that project, I think would be phenomenal for that area.
Thank you. Are there any others that would like to speak?
My name is Deborah Green, and I didn't want to speak because I value Grace Church, but I am opposed for the building of the apartments. And the reason is because of the influx of traffic. As some different ones said, I moved there in 1989 in the area, and it's now, I feel, an area that has been cleaned up with Richland County, with the drug. They are constantly telling us at our community organization that they are the sheriff from our Ridgewood Barony Community Organization. They come every month to 2 months and let us know that Region 3 is one of the best region right now compared to where it was, and they compare it to the Northeast and other areas as far as the crime rate is down. I do want to say that since I've been living there, I have not experienced any issues with crime. when I first moved, I used to sleep with my door open coming from Connecticut. And I tell people now, never had a problem since I've been there. I feel that the apartment will bring in more crime with the 500 plus members that they're gonna bring in. I do feel that Grace does do good things to the community, but as far as the apartments, I don't think that that would be a good fit for the community. There's gonna be annexation that they're wanting to do. I don't know that that's the best fit for us. As far as us being misinformed, we were not notified. Yes, Angela was the president of our Ridgewood Barony Community Organization, and I'm not sure if that time I was the vice president of the same organization. Grant, we didn't have a lot of people came, but those that did come had pride in that community and wanted to see good things. So I just feel that if the apartments are brought there, we're going to have more crimes, we're going to have just issues. So I'm against it.
Thank you.
Just as a clarification, I'm not sure where the 500 number is coming from, but 500 units would not.
It was not. They're talking about people.
500 people wouldn't be able to if they're only allowed to do around 80 units.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
So good evening, my name is Jennifer Bishop. I wanted to address some of the concerns that I have heard. I, along with my husband, Aaron Bishop, are pastors of Grace Christian Church, and we are excited about the opportunity to finally take up something that has been blighted in that area, which is the land that is already owned. The fact of the matter is, there is no way to improve the land if we do not work on the land, and this is what we have proposed to start doing. As far as the crime that I have heard about, we have made proactive steps to say inside of the development that we are going to bring a community resource officer to be able to live in that in that property to help with that. This is a community that we're trying to build inside of that community. We cannot continue to stay where we are. As I believe Elder Angela Bishop Hammond said, change is going to be difficult, but change is necessary. There is a crisis in this community, in this nation, that we have to address, and that is one of the ways that we have forged our footing to address the housing crisis here in the city of Columbia. The property is zoned for either residential housing or the property that we're trying to develop now. We believe that it will be one of the best fits. We will also have a stake inside of how the schooling, the system of Richland One is. We've tried to have conversations with the community to say we want to come in to be partners in whatever aspect that there are concerns about. We want to be a part of making proactive steps to make it a better community. However, staying where we are is just not an option. It's just not an option. So yes, we own the land. We're ready to develop the land, and we're ready to do something different than leaving it as a vacant spot. And we're taking the proactive steps inside of the planning of the development of the land to address some of the concerns that we have heard. Our church is directly across the street. We're there more, I'm there at that church more than I am in my own home. And so I have a vested interest. I have a business that is on that side of the street as well. I have a vested interest in making sure that there is safety in that community. So change is difficult, but change is necessary. And we have heard, we are listening, and we will take the proactive steps to assist in where we can that's within our purview. But some of the things that have been addressed have nothing to do with what we're trying to do. And my other question is, we're coming in, we want to come in to assist with whatever has already been going on. Some of the things that have been discussed have been there prior to us. So what was happening on the way to us coming to this place? What were people doing to help with Richland One's issue with Eau Claire High School, whatever the case may be? So, you know, change is difficult, but it is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others that would like to speak? You'll need to come up after her. Please state your name again.
right? And I want to recant what this lady said about 500 people. We were told at the last neighborhood meeting that they were going to build 84 units, which of 3-bedroom apartments and 2 people per room. That's 504 people. So there's your number, ma'am, the 504 people that our neighborhood cannot sustain. Currently, as it is, the land is cliffed, it's overgrown, and it hasn't been maintained. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoning has occupancy requirements, so unless that was a large related family, no more than 3 unrelated individuals could occupy a unit. So I just want to clarify that.
That was how many units? 81, 84?
It's roughly, if the RG one's roughly 8.4, 8.7 units per acre, so they would probably be allowed 80-something units.
Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Latoya Quick, and I am here to speak on behalf of myself and the development. I am in agreement with it. I am speaking from the behalf of being a young family. I'm here with my husband and my 2 young boys. I have always lived in a home, and just right now, we're actually looking for a home, and we're looking for an affordable home. We're looking for something that will not put us to where we'll never be able to pay it off. We're looking for something where my children can grow up in what they're talking about, a community. I actually work right in the community at this time, and it's hard to find somewhere, as they say, that's safe. And I've been working in this community now for 7 years, and I enjoy it. I work with young children, so I see, their families are also looking for homes. They're looking for something to start off with. They're looking for somewhere to grow. And I see myself in the families that I serve. We are looking for somewhere to start and grow. So we hope that this development is something that they will come to find is a needed aspect. It's a little hard to hear folks say that, it may be something ghetto, it may be something that is not wanted, especially when you're looking at wanting to be a part of this community. So that's my piece.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Nikki Georgia, and I am in agreement with the development that we have here. And I'm coming to you as a single parent. As a single parent, we need affordable housing. And I listened to someone indicated something about being ghetto, Section 8. I'm far from being ghetto or being on Section 8. I actually have my master's degree in human resource development. I am employed with the University of South Carolina. However, situations happen. I am recently divorced, and I am a single mother of 2 children. And I just think it's a great opportunity what they have in place here that will give us the ability to be able to afford housing, especially when you go from a 2-parent income to a 1-household income. So I think it's a great opportunity, and as everyone has indicated, it's about change. If we don't change our mindset about how we actually go forward with things, nothing will ever be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Willie Horn. I really don't know much about this development stuff, but I do know about the kids in this neighborhood. I volunteer in this neighborhood, coaching football and basketball with these kids in this neighborhood, and I watch a lot of kids drop out because their parents can't afford it, or their parents lost their home and now they got to move back with their mother. I think this opportunity with this development will be great for a lot of kids. A lot of these people here today, I understand what they mean by they don't want the people in the neighborhood. But you got to remember, somebody gave you a start somewhere too. This is important for these young parents in these neighborhoods, because these people are not going to stop having children. It don't matter how old you are. So I think that giving them a chance to be able to start in a community with older folks in the community that can surround them and teach them how to be parents, teach them how to be living in a community the right way. If these people here that don't want it, take those people and show them and mold them, it'll make the community better and bigger. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Russell Sutton. Okay, I'm for the project. Reason being, I come from a different standpoint. I'm younger than most of the ones that are in here. I'm from that community. I have family that graduated from those schools. We're not fools, we're not ghetto. There's a system called call and response. There was a call that we have homeless children, we have homeless people who cannot afford affordable housing. So that's where we had the response to put this building there. So it's been contaminated. No one has done anything about it. So Grace Christian Church decided to say, we'll step in and we'll do something about it. This plan is very strategic. It's not going to, we understand the fact of the crime rate. So we're not just going to say, hey, you can't afford that, you're poor, we're going to throw you in these houses. That's not our plan. The plan is to screen the proper people, the ones that truly need it, the ones that wants to do it, and this is the stepping ground from it. Just like they're able to own homes for 50, 60, and 70 years, okay, this is a starting step for some of the ones who are not able to do that. And it's also a tight community, have nearby grocery stores, you have a place for them to worship. If they choose to do so, you have schools as well. Everything is in walking distance within that area. As far as the crime, as far as security, there's plans being put in place for those as well. So I ask that this do be granted on behalf of giving someone else a chance that does not have one. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Melissa O'Neill. I'm like most of the people in here. I've lived in this community all my life. I don't have an issue with you developing the section, but from looking at this is a single-family residential area. They're trying to change it to a general residential, from going from an urban core residential small to a large lot. This section that they're talking about, adding these condominiums, townhomes, it is just not enough. It will be too much traffic for that area. Now, if they wanted to come and put homes, since we're trying to do something affordable homes that people can purchase, that's totally different. But when you're talking about adding 500, even 100 more people to that area, now you're disturbing the people that live there because you're adding more traffic flow. Whether it's crime or not, that one area that you come in and come out is just not enough to increase it to have that much more traffic flow going through there. I am against it. Again, if they want to put homes, not just throwing up something to have however many people there for funds. We've lived there all our life, and it's just not, I oppose it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Zakia Anderson, and I am here to state that I am for the project, the redevelopment of the neighborhood. As a single parent and a product of District 1, Richland District 1, I also work for the University of South Carolina, and I hear the concerns, but I also believe that we just need a chance to be able to go in and start something. As a single parent, I can speak to the fact that we need more opportunities to be able to own homes, to be able to have our children grow up in supportive and growth-related neighborhoods. So I think the project would be great. As far as the concerns are that have been voiced here today, I think we should be able to work together as a community to be able to change these things. And I think that everyone should have an open mind about the situation and not be so close-minded, because we do want the same opportunities that the people that have lived in this neighborhood for 50, 60, and 70 years have had. We want the same opportunities that they've had to have our children grow up and pass our homes down. But unfortunately, the way the economy is today, we don't have those opportunities. And we can then say, once we get this going and off the ground, that we were a part of something from the ground up that we're giving over to our children as a legacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bowdry Thomas, and I am for this rezoning effort. I come from a place of stewardship from Grace Christian Church. So currently, am not a homeowner. I'm a Georgia transplant. So I am looking for somewhere to stay, and it would be a good opportunity for me if I could live, work, and I guess play, go to church in the same area. On a professional side, I work with a program called Midlands Healthy Start. So we work with sometimes low-income single mothers. And our largest participants, they come from the 29203. And so they are looking for housing, affordable housing, because they are generational. They live with their parents, but they need something for themselves. So I think that this is a great opportunity for not only myself, but the people that I serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Henry Parker, retired Air Force. I lived in the neighborhood for over 50 years, almost 60 years. And half of these people that's up here talking about how good the neighborhood is don't even live in the neighborhood. I've never seen half of them before. And I lived in the neighborhood for a long time. I raised 2 kids. The kids are grown. I even have grandkids. If they want to add 400, 500 more people in our neighborhood, our congested neighborhood, I think that's wrong. If they want to put affordable housing in our neighborhood, I'll go along with that. But put apartment complex with 500 more people in our congested neighborhood, I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarisa Parker. I just wanted to address a few things that Grace Ministries, I do thank Grace Ministries church members for coming out. They do not live in our community. This will not directly affect them. There are several communities being built. There's an apartment complex by the same management company right next to the church that has vacancies. There's also a community being built now, same standards, a little bit down the road in the Crane Forest area. There are plenty of affordable houses being built in that area right now. One thing the pastor said that concerned me, he said it's not about the residents, it's about the future generation. So he's letting us know right there, he does not care about the residents that are there now. The management company spoke to us and said they allowed, 3 heartbeats? It's going to be, they did tell us that they can legally have up to 500 people. It was different from what she said, so I'm not sure where that comes in. But again, I want to stress this property that Grace has had, they are the ones that neglected the property. We would love for them to develop it single-family homes and keep it single-family homes. If you look at that map, Barony Woods is a small area. Again, they're using data from Ridgewood. Barony Woods is a very small community of about 100 homes behind Ridgewood. So all the people who are talking about living in that area, this will not affect them. When I tell you, like she said, she can throw a rock, this is a small community in the wooded area that they're trying to put this. Nothing against affordable homes, we're against the location. They can build, if they're so concerned about housing and they're using all the correct verbiage that you guys, you see in the paper about, you're using all the correct verbiage. We may not have that, but we're very against it. They can put it in a different location if they really care about the community. Thank you.
We can do this all night.
We're not going to,
I don't think that's a proper and fair opportunity for you to make your judgment. Objectively, we have done what we were supposed to. We informed the community. We invited the community to our building, informed them. We went to their community and informed them. Went to a second community and informed them. People have been properly informed. Now, I want to make sure someone heard me clear, because the same person who just spoke, we put her through a job readiness program and helped her get job placement. That's just one of the million stories of things we're doing, and we're still trying to do it. So what I'm explaining to you is this, objectively, not subjectively. I'm closing with this. When it comes back down to what we're going to be looking to do, it is about the current residents. It's also about the future residents. Okay, it's both. All right, so I don't want to go back and forth. We've heard that person say something. I've said mine. She said something. She said it again. We don't need to have this temperament over something that's objective. Okay? When people begin to get subjective, it becomes that kind of conversation. Let's keep it germane to what is being presented. Please, ma'am, please, sir.
All right, we're going to limit this. If you've already spoke, if you want, you already stand up, we'll let you speak. If you already spoke, we're not going to speak again. If any other people want to speak for the first time, we'll listen to that, and then we're going to go ahead and with the motions.
I just want to make one correction. We did have a partnership with Midlands Technical College in the Empowerment Zone where we gave 40 people in the 29203 area customer service certificates, and they went through the program for free. And they stated that she was not one of them. So we want to correct that. Okay.
Thank you.
I went over there and apologized. The second of all, if the land for the dumping, I'm director of operations, and so we have been taking care of it. Anytime the city, they got code enforcement, and they do come by and write tickets. So we did take care of the property.
Thank you. Again, anybody else would like to speak for the first time that's been sitting here? We'll welcome anybody else speaking for the first time.
Good evening. My name is Zipporah Sumter, and I have a vested interest in the community. My children have grown up in the community. I currently have a daughter who lives in the community. I have grandchildren that are growing up in that community as we speak. First of all, as the young lady tried to point out, the area in which we're speaking about is a small community in the back. It does not include Ridgewood. Because of what has occurred, and the bishop spoke to it, he says that each neighborhood received notice about the project. They did not. Our neighborhood received notice of the first meeting regarding this project at 4 o'clock the day before the meeting was to occur at 1 o'clock. I was doing some work. I was in a meeting. I was told drop what I was doing, get to the meeting, last minute. So a large portion of that small community was not aware of what was going on, and they're still not completely aware of what this project is about. They are for cleaning up that area. They are for homes being there, but homes where people can be vested, homes where everyone plans on living there for more than 5 years, 10 years. They get a 30-year mortgage. So now they're vested, they care about the property, they care about the school system. There are plenty of people in here that attended Eau Claire, and they are wonderful people. They have gone on, they're professionals. That's not the issue. The issue is we want to have vested people who continue to care about the neighborhood, who do not move in for 1 month, 2 months, and move out. They're there, they're coming in, they want to build the community. The contamination of the property, Grace Ministries knew about the dumping. They asked for some of the property, some of the dumping to be placed there, and they did not follow proper protocol in protecting it from other dumping that occurred. How do I know that? My husband and I were in the neighborhood one day driving around, as we always do, and we caught individuals dumping. And we contacted the necessary people, the important people, to come out and stop the dumping. So we're aware of it because we've seen it with our own eyes. There's a swimming pool that was there because of the country club, and the dumping has occurred to fill up that swimming pool. The surveyor said they have dug 40 feet and it's contaminated. They're not sure how far they would have to go to find uncontaminated property. Now, if they're so concerned about the children and about the neighborhood and about the people that are going to come there, we would think that they would want to...
Your time is up.
we would think that they would want to clear up that dumping, that toxic land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Briscoe. I am a product of Eau Claire High School. My parents still live in the Ridgewood area. Matter of fact, they stay on Ridgewood Avenue. I'm not opposed to bringing in new home ownership, townhomes, but not the apartment complex. The community back in the Baron Wood area, it's a very narrow road back there, very narrow. I mean, I think about safety for the children, you know, that's out there. And just for, like I say, the young man said, it takes a, talk about the village raising up the children. Not these kids nowadays. These kids don't listen to older people. Anything, they're gonna flip you off, okay? My thing, I'm not saying we have Section 8, ghetto people. Like I say, I'm a product of that neighborhood. I'm not Section 8, I'm not ghetto. But my thing is, I'm just thinking about the safety concern as far as the streetwise back there. I do like the idea of townhomes, because everyone needs to have home ownership, okay? That's my thing. No apartments, just townhomes.
Thank you. Are there any other folks that would like to speak for the first time?
Good evening. My name is
Good
Brian
evening.
Coney. I work for Parks and Rec. The park I work at is Lord Park. If anybody ever Googled Lord Park, it's a bad neighborhood. It's one of the worst places to be. As of 2 years ago, when I was at Lord Park, when I first got there 2 years ago, our playground had a piece of plywood as a place of a sliding board. It was there for 15 years. People that stayed in that neighborhood said it was acceptable. Kids in that neighborhood said it was acceptable. When I first got there, my windows got busted out my truck. My truck was stolen from that park, but I'm still there. I'm not from Columbia, but I love that neighborhood because I've been visiting to that neighborhood. Mr. Bishop, what he did was, he in the Eau Claire area. From Eau Claire to Lord is almost 2 miles away. Him and his church still came to that to my park. We did a community event together. They brought sofas, clothes, bicycles, did breakfast. That wasn't even their neighborhood. Because when I went to him, my plan was anything in the 203 area, that's what needs to be improved. Since I've been down here, riding through the neighborhoods are horrible. The people that stay in the neighborhoods, they probably lost hope. Everybody moving to the northeast area, but right now everybody trying to move back downtown. The only thing that's going to change is people that's fighting for change, and you have to do something sooner or later, because if not, the only thing that's going to happen to the neighborhoods go down. So I'm for the change. Like I said, I think I've been hearing a lot of people say so today, and I think everybody's intentions are to keep the neighborhood safe or keep it intact, but to be safe and keep it intact, it's going to have to be some type of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others that would like to speak for the first time? If not, do any planning commissioners have questions for staff?
Has there been any discussion about the traffic that's been brought up a couple of times?
That would come up if they had to do a site plan review. I'm not sure if they would be required to do a traffic impact study or not, but it would be at that point.
And in terms of density, if all of these pass, just one more time to clarify, you're looking at around 80 units, correct?
It's roughly 8.7 units per acre. So it's probably around 84, 85 units could go on that site.
And is there any restriction on the number of bedrooms per unit?
There could be no more than 3.
No more than
just because of that requirement that no more than 3 unrelated individuals can occupy a dwelling.
And this zoning is, as with all rezoning, it is in fact unrelated to the current owner.
Correct. It's not project specific.
Right. So, I mean, I think that's important to recognize. There's been a lot of discussion about what the particular plan is and the current owner's plan. But in fact, if it was rezoned, it could, anyone could build there. They could sell it tomorrow. They could keep it, they could do what they say they're going to do. There's no guarantees of any kind. It's just a rezoning. That's what we're looking at. We're not looking at the particular plan because there's no guarantee for that plan.
Correct, and the RG1 would allow for single family, but it would also allow for the two-family or the multifamily. So it just allows for more density than an RS zoning.
Have we seen a preliminary site plan, preliminary elevations, any type of preliminary project data?
No.
Can I ask that? Do y'all operate multifamily product now in other places in the community? Yes. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
John Lewis. We recently completed a site about a half mile from there in the Ridgewood community. The same townhome that we're proposing here, 32-unit complex, and got those leased up upon completion. That was done on about 2.5 acres.
You said there's a townhomes?
Correct.
Not apartment?
Townhomes for rent, same thing that we're proposing here.
So you're not talking about doing a garden-style apartment on this site?
Townhome-style apartments.
Are there any other questions from Planning Commission of staff or the applicant? If not, like I said, we're going to do 3 separate motions for the 3 separate topics, even though it's one general discussion. So with that, would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment at 2.57 acres Southwest Rugby Road and 4802 Brickyard Road to rezone a portion of the parcels from single-family residential RS2 to RG1.
Can we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed by no?
No.
Motion passes. To the next topic. Can we please have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan future land use map amendment for the 2.57 acres Southwest Rugby Road and 4802 Brickyard Road, number 11.
Can we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by no?
No.
Motion passes. And the last, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan, future land use map amendment, and zoning map amendment for pending annexation at 2.74 acres Southwest Rugby Road, 0.31 acres Rugby Road, 4802 Brickyard Road, a portion 320 Club Road, 0.3 acres Rugby Road, 4848 Rugby Road, and 4860 Rugby Road.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Just for clarification, Ms. Mendel and Mr. Waits were no. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Yeah, let's take 2 minutes before we pick up the rest of the agenda so people can get a drink or water.
Sure, sounds great.
Use the restroom.
I need water. Who has some? Can we get water or what? Should we go to the back? Just adoption of the plan. The 10-year plan.
not done.
Andrea.
I don't have to. I mean, that's fine.
Bottle of water. In the refrigerator.
Residents that.
Do you think no?
Yeah. It's a hard situation because I think what they do, Grace does, is very important to me. I just don't know that that's the right way. I wish they would figure out a way to maybe donate that to the city and, yeah, let the city take that and create a park and then let the city.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they should put apartments in
well, that was a little
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah. And then I was thinking, what about a buffer, like, maybe doing something like that. Okay, you ready? Let's wrap this.
Nothing surprising.
Oh.
I mean, he was only going to live.
I want it to.
It's kind of slow because like, I think the stairs are out of commission.
Oh, the stairs
Is that
are.
what Dale was saying?
Oh, the stairs are out of commission?
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'll have to go down that little thing.
Dale.
We're going to get Planning Commission back in session, so if you can please shut the doors. You can continue to exit, but just for sound, we'd like to get the next agenda topic underway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll introduce, sorry. I know the microphones have been a little bit weird, so let me know if I do anything strange, but as y'all are well aware, this is kind of the culmination for y'all of the Columbia Compass planning process, and we're excited to be there. And so just wanted to do a brief overview for y'all. I know you guys have been with us in the trenches throughout the process, so just a quick overview. Throughout the process, we estimate we've had about 6,200 points of public engagement through online interaction as well as in-person meetings. The plan contains 9 elements. So we start off with the population element. That's really a demographic analysis of the city of Columbia and the surrounding population, as well as a look at the city's identity. The natural resources element really talks about basic existing conditions from our air quality, our water quality, and moves forward to discuss recommendations, such as recommendations for clean, renewable energy, that sort of thing. Sorry, I know this is doing weird things. The economic development element really looks at the existing state of our local economy, looking at clusters, looking at employment sectors, employees, and then makes recommendations for how we might better economic development throughout the community and region. The housing chapter, of course, looks at some of our existing housing market, our the policies that we have in place that deal with housing and makes recommendations for some of those, including affordable housing and other housing recommendations. The transportation element. Okay. The transportation element really looks at all modes of transportation throughout the city. So we are looking at not just vehicular travel, but pedestrian, bicycle, transit, and other types of modes that are emerging, and makes recommendations about those. Land use element is probably the element that y'all are most familiar with. Of course, you're familiar with them all now, but the land use element does make recommendations for future land use, which we review regularly through the future land use maps. And it also makes recommendations about greenways and gateways, corridors, housing, that sort of thing. The community facilities element really looks at not only the structures that the city has, but also the services we provide, from water and sewer to just community services like our parks, recreation, working with others. The cultural resources element, of course, reviews not only the fine arts, but looks at our historic preservation, who we are as a community. And then the priority investment element really summarizes that for us. So it's our cheat sheet in our guide. And all of those elements together make 125 recommendations. So that breakdown is before you on the screen, but they're broken down by element. They have a variety of priorities, from high priority, medium priority, and low priority, and a variety of durations. So that short term to all the way to something that might take 7 to 10 plus years. And each of those recommendations looks at the items as well. So who's responsible, the duration, priority, that sort of thing. I know I'm telling you things you already know. But the process going forward here, and what we're asking you to do tonight, is to make your recommendations to City Council for approval on the comprehensive plan. We expect this will go to Council April 21st. And so once you've made this recommendation, we actually probably will also be coming back to you next month with some discussion of the official maps that are part of the plan as well. But those recommendations will go to City Council. Concurrently, the Amplify Columbia process will also be going through kind of that presentation to Council and to the community as well. And we expect that you all will certainly be using Columbia Compass as a tool as you move forward, whether you stick with us on Planning Commission, or I know a couple of you will be leaving us. So, but as you move forward, we hope that this is a good tool for y'all as well. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you. You guys have been integral to this process. We really appreciate the feedback, the comments. You're dealing with us over the many work sessions. You're coming to public meetings. So I'm really just here to answer any questions you have about the draft plan. I should mention that the request to recommend is stipulated on the final pagination of the plan. We have that with the graphic designer. I should have it back in the next couple of days, so I'll have final page numbers, and at that point we'll be adding the index as well. So there are a few things in the case summary that we'll be bringing to council contingent on that being completed.
Well, before any questions get asked, I want to say great job. John, Lee, the whole staff has done an excellent job from beginning to end. So wonderful work for you and your team. Now, if anyone has questions.
Just second that. I think that it's been an amazing process, just tremendous amount of information that's been integrated and put into an amazing plan and a path for the future.
Any other questions, comments? Can we get a motion?
Just for clarification, so under state statute, the Planning Commission actually adopts a resolution, and then you will make a motion to City Council, and they will actually adopt an ordinance. So unlike a lot of your recommendations, you often recommend just to City Council, but you're actually approving a resolution this evening and then a recommendation to City Council.
So the motion would be I approve I support the resolution of, or
something like that would be fine.
The resolution is essentially your verbal commitment to city council.
Okay.
Or written.
I'll try it. I support the resolution that we move forward with the City of Columbia comprehensive plan, barring substantive changes. I mean, assuming that there will be some minor edits, then we will support those.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. It was great working with you all on the
Great
project
job.
too. We need to commend you for all of your time also for coming early before you to Planning Commission almost for a year to work on it with us. So thanks for that extra time. I think that just leaves our agenda this evening with an adjournment.
There are any. Can we get a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion passes. We are adjourned.